This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Jinx McNinja from Sergeant Tannis, Floey Tiha of Siren, and Jude Faber of Goblin. Thank you so much for your support over these past few years. Coming up this week on Checkpoint, we'll talk about Sony following in the footsteps of Nintendo and releasing the PlayStation Classic. Plus, we'll run down the new game releases coming in November and find out about some new treats from Hershey's. That's all coming up on your source for esports and video game discussions, Checkpoint from Westwood One and Beasley Esports XP. Join me, Nate, Robbie Norris, and Joe for Checkpoint. Listen on demand Fridays at our website at checkpointradio.com. Looking for the latest and greatest way to listen to this year's installment of Now That's Some Gosh Darn Good Music 76? Wanting the best way to put you directly into Lords of Verminion Go, the card game? Do you desire the most fashionable headphones without rustling your feathers? Presenting Cheaps by Quay. Cheaps by Quay offer the pinnacle of headphone feather technology, helping you get down in the comfiest way possible. No longer will your head feel foul after those gaming binges in your nest. No. You'll keep up with your flock as you bust out those clutch plays. Migrate to your favorite roost and duck down with Cheaps by Quay. Just work it.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Unmiro.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kallo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Mika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode 181. Just 2 more in-studio episodes left, including this episode. Guys, it's almost over.
It's almost done.
I'm sad, man. I'm going to miss this show when I'm not on it anymore.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Wait, you're supposed to be continuing it on.
Yeah, I'm going to miss the show when you're not on it.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Then I have to do work.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, welcome to Limit Break Radio. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate having you along. Twitch.tv/checkpointxp. By the way, make sure you update those bookmarks because, you know, that's our new Twitch address that you can find us at. That was done without our permission at all. It was just like
knowledge.
Like someone like our producer Rick called us and was like, "Yeah, we're gonna change the URL over to Checkpoint XP." I'm like, "Okay, that's pretty cool. I think that's all right." And then it was like immediately after I got off the phone with him, he called me back and he's like, "Oh, Twitch did it already. I don't know what they were thinking. It's crazy." So,
sure, blame it on Twitch.
Checkpoint XP is the new Twitch channel. Don't worry if you've already been subbed, you maintain your sub. Everything transfers over. But if you haven't followed for some reason yet, then make sure that you're at the right channel. I mean, if you're watching this right now, you're at the right channel. But it's twitch.tv/checkpointxp. Make sure you share that link out and make sure you follow because after FanFest, really, that'll be the last time Limit Break Radio is on Checkpoint. So if you want to keep up with what myself and Robbie and Joe are doing, then make sure you follow the channel and come back. We are actually live daily. I can't believe it, but we've been able to maintain that daily schedule. Monday through Friday, we are here from 5 o'clock till about 7 or 8 o'clock doing a daily show for you guys. It's called Checkpoint Daily. You can find episodes of that on demand over at checkpointradio.com. Yeah, we would love it if you took the time to check it out, because it's been really awesome producing that show, and I feel like it's been going really, really well. So let's kick it on over to our Eorzean studios. Our very empty Eorzean studios.
Very empty.
If you want to join us, you can, of course, do that on the Sergeant Tannis server in the Goblet 5th Ward, plot number 30. Here's the thing, is that, like, I was the only person in this studio when I had sat down just about 10 minutes ago. So I would love to see. Oh, there's a couple of more people there that are starting to show up. Juxta, why are you just not there?
I'm there in spirit and in catechin form.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah,
That doesn't count. You know that, right?
It counts a little bit.
No, it doesn't.
it doesn't, because then we're here twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have double the here power.
So
Where
you're
are you?
double here, and I'm just single here.
Where
You're
are you?
bad at this. I feel really nervous about handing the show off to you. Not so much to Nika.
Now you're feeling nervous. Just now after.
Not so much to Nika, but to you. Yeah.
It's in good hands with Nika, so you don't have to be worried.
Anyway, so why don't you? By the way, we're the only three here today. Kallo is on his way back from BlizzCon. He and Prince Clary got to go report out at BlizzCon, and if you want to hear some of the interviews that they collected, as well as hear their experiences about being able to be out at BlizzCon, make sure you tune in right here at twitch.tv/checkpointxp on Monday for Monday's Checkpoint Daily Show. We, by the way, have we mentioned that we're throwing a party out at FanFest? I don't know.
I don't think we brought that up yet.
Yeah, which is weird because Monday or Tuesday this week is your last day.
Monday, I believe.
Monday.
Tomorrow
is your last day to RSVP. Now, here's the thing, is that we are pretty darn close to breaking even. I think within like 3 or 4 people. So if you made an RSVP, make sure you pay for that shit.
There's a whole bunch of unpaid ones right now.
Yeah, there's like 10 of you that haven't paid. So make sure you pay up for the after party. VIP access is about $60. It's $59.54. For that you get access to the VIP area where all of the FF14 creative community is going to be hanging out. We've got so many people that we've announced that are going to be there. Aya's going to be throwing a Street Fighter tournament. We've got Happy that's going to be there. We've got Maelstrom Radio that's going to be there. I mean, it's
9 people from Gamer Escape are going to be there.
Yeah, Gamer Escape's going to be out there. Ethis Asher's going to be there. So, I mean, listen, if you ever wanted to party with all of us, now is your opportunity. And for Limit Break Radio, it's your last opportunity, because after this, we kind of depart the scene,
kind of going our separate ways.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
not really though.
Kinda. Yeah. I mean,
yes and no.
Do you honestly think that you're going to get Juxta on an FF14 show after FanFest?
Oh, at least 3.
Yeah, that's right. You are
3.
contractually obligated to 3 if you want your money.
Well, I mean, I never signed anything, so I don't know if that's
true.
accurate.
We
could just delete the channel and fall off the face of the earth.
We have a gentleman's agreement. If you, I mean, if you want to look at something as your agreement to do that, it's the Patreon.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at it technically, yeah, I guess you could technically say that's an agreement for me to, quote, do something.
Yeah, it is. You got to get off your ass and do something if you want. If you want to, be a part of Limit Break Radio, keep it going. You forfeit your money, is what I'm saying. If you don't,
fine. We're gonna do the thing. We'll do. Nika will do 3 things, and then everyone will be happy because this game will be in the shitter and no one would like it anymore. and we'll all be playing Fallout 76.
Well, that's actually going to play into some of our conversation today. But before we got into that, again, a last reminder that you guys get FanFest After Party Friday, November 26th from 8 p.m. to midnight over at the Esports Arena at the Luxor in Las Vegas. We invite you to join us. You have only one day to RSVP. There is a link. Lloyd has put it in the chat a couple of times. Make sure you RSVP. If you want to play, $10 an hour for the PCs downstairs. There's plenty of PCs and consoles all over the place. There is a food menu available. If you do show up without an RSVP, there is a cash and carry bar. Just be prepared, though. If you didn't RSVP, we can't guarantee that you're going to be able to get in.
And you will not be able to get into the VIP.
That's right. And
sure.
there is a capacity of 300 people for the VIP, and I think that we're at like 220 or like 250, like somewhere around there with our existing
we're on the
RSVPs.
cusp.
We're really close to being able to pack that VIP area. So make sure that if you've been thinking about it, if you've been toying with the idea, that you pull the trigger and you get in under the deadline, which is tomorrow. So if you're actually listening to this on the podcast, you've missed your deadline. So I don't know what to tell you.
You should have been listening the last 6 weeks we've been talking about it.
That's right. So speaking of things that we've been plugging for a couple of weeks, Nika, how did Extra Life go last night?
It went really well. I mean, last night it was like
Yesterday.
I ended up 27 hours.
Wow.
I went.
What was your total raised?
My total was like $1,511, which is just $139 short of beating last year's total.
Oh.
I know it's really close, but I think I'll still be pushing for it during my raid streams and stuff like that. And because the donation links don't actually close until December, and right now we as Team LBR have raised over 5,000, which was our original goal. We're at like
5,320.
It went up.
Yeah.
5,320.
Yeah.
We are ahead of the FF14 content creators group, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also know some other people on Team LBR haven't even done like their full 24-hour marathons. They're doing it on a different day because they were busy or just did like half the time. So we still have a long ways to go. So last year our team did 7,500-ish. So I would love if we can beat that. Hopefully, but we'll see if it gets that far.
All right. Well, Nika's just $130 away from breaking her goal. And just
speaking of that, though, my Femro is gone for a month.
Oh, well, what is it now?
Highlander.
Oh, none of us noticed, I don't think.
Well, actually, it was really awesome. I let them vote $1 per vote.
Oh.
So every time you donate $50, you get 50 votes. And Femme Highlander and Femme Mikote were hand in hand, neck and neck the entire time, but Femme Highlander pulled ahead at the end.
I'm surprised no one wanted you to do a gender bent, do male.
Yeah, there was a strong push for male Lalafell for a little while.
That would have been the worst.
But then that fell behind, so.
That would have been the worst. Lalafells are the worst.
I was rooting for a male cat girl, to be honest.
Male cat girl. That still doesn't make sense, right?
It makes perfect sense.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, so if you want to give to Team Limit Break Radio, again, extra-life.org/team/Limit Break Radio, if you are interested in getting in on that. So, yeah, that's all about what we got for our own news. Let's check out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
Oh, should I start talking?
Yeah, you should probably start talking.
All right, so the fan festival announcement for 2018 in Vegas has been released. You can go check out that on the official website. There's all kinds of cool stuff, like the big thing is the Yoshi P keynote address, which is the very first thing.
That's
on
usually
Friday.
the biggest thing, yes.
Real quick, why do we call Yoshi P Yoshi P?
Yoshi Producer, that's like his forum tag.
Oh.
Yeah, because his name is Naoki Yoshida. Yes, but it's Yoshida producer.
I was thinking about him in the shower, and I just realized there was no P in his name.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his forum tag is Yoshi P, Yoshi producer, something like that.
So, keynote address is always the big one that people, are excited for. We'll get a pretty good idea of where 5.0 is going to be taking us and what some of the major features are going to be. Then, of course, we've got the welcome ceremony from 11:30 to 11:45. I don't.
That's like any welcome ceremony, any convention if you've ever been to one.
Yeah,
like,
they just introduce people.
You're here, welcome. We're so excited to have you. All right, go have fun.
Yeah. Then you've got the development panel. The Weapons Refrain Ultimate has been lauded as some of the most difficult fights in FF14. What does it take to design such a formidable foe? Lead battle system designer Tsuyoshi Yokozawa joins us to discuss the creation of this exciting challenge. So there you go.
Fun to listen to.
I guess. I mean,
like someone who's actually good at creating raids, talking about how.
Well, I would think that it would be interesting to you, Nika. I don't know that it has that it holds a whole lot of interest for me, to be honest with you, because it's just like, okay, what went into designing your square room boss encounter?
Well, first we took 3 other squares and put them into that first square room, so that way there is more squares.
Got between 2 ferns from 2:30 to 3:45. I think Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell are going to want to have a conversation with them. But Michael Christopher Koji Fox comes bearing not 1 but 2 tomes full of lore. Join him as he offers behind-the-scenes insights into the creation of the ever-expanding world of Heidelin, brings answers from the world lore creator Bari Oda, and Banari Oda, sorry.
Banri.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just taking stabs at it, whatever. And questions gathered before the show and hosts to some live and interactive fun with the audience. If this was anything like his conversation about the lore book last FanFest, I don't think I'm going to be terribly interested in this either.
Oh my god.
It was nice to listen to from the merch line.
Well, but like, I don't think he offered really any that much insight. He was like, do you know how much it took to not get them to print Square Enix on the goddamn spine of the thing? And I'm like, I don't care. Tell us about the world that the book is about. Fuck. Anyway, there's a costume contest from 4:30 to 5:30. Piano concert featuring Kiko and Susan Calloway from 7 to 8:30 p.m. So I understand. I probably will not see most of you at the after party until 9. I understand that. Know that there probably is no shuttle over to the Luxor. You're probably going to want to, secure an Uber or a taxi.
But what you can do if you do want to walk, I heard that the Rio used to have a free shuttle just over to the Strip. It doesn't anymore, but if you go over the Golden Coast, I believe, has a shuttle. So you can just walk over to the Golden Coast, which is right next door, get on their shuttle, and it will at least take you to the Strip, and then you could walk the rest of the way to the Luxor if you'd rather do that.
That's an option too. Yeah. I would just recommend an Uber.
An Uber would be easier, yeah.
It's really interesting though, but they seem to have forgotten to put our after party on the schedule.
Well, it's the unofficial after party. We've always said that.
But it's the official unofficial after party.
I know, right?
I can't believe they would leave us out.
I know. I feel so hurt. Not really.
No.
Saturday, we've got the Feast Regional Championship so I guess that's from 10:30 to 12:30.
Frosty's hosting that.
Yeah.
And plus one, who was one of the winners from last one's contest, right?
I think so.
I did an interview with him. I thought.
Plus one is also a remixer too.
Yes, he is.
He's done some of the really cool remixes.
Because the last Feast contest wasn't like a Feast championship. It was just random people signed up and you get picked to do it. And I remember Plus One was on the team that won last time. So now he and Frosty are casting it. So
Aether and Primal are going head to head. So cheer on whatever data
teams
center
are in the lead.
Yeah. So on Saturday from 2 to 3, there's a panel called "We Will Positively Look Into It."
Okay, this is the live question.
Yeah.
Can we please band together to ask? Because every time there's live
Please
questions,
stop
it's like, can we get
dumb
can we
shit
get a
questions.
cheese souffle? Like, I really, really want a big group of us to literally just have the same question ready, so that whoever gets called on, we can finally just flat out ask, when are we getting a new raid cycle? Because this one's boring, and I really just want to know what he says. Honest to God,
It's going to be the next expansion. You know that. You know, I mean, their raid cycles are fairly predictable.
No.
It's
I mean,
means,
like new variety,
raid content,
like new
actual
content, like not just I have a whole thing planned out to be like, a lot of us been feeling these are getting a little stale. Just a circle arena with a single boss. When can we expect some variety in our
Your
end game?
raids suck. Make them better.
And I want to see
your whole thing.
what he says.
Oh, well, that's an interesting thing, but unfortunately, we don't have any plans to change up our current raid structure at this time.
From 3:30 to 5 o'clock, we've got the letter from the producer live. And then from 7 to 8:30, the Primals live in concert. Now, okay, a couple of people have asked, does this mean, because you're doing your last show from the after party, does this mean you're not doing, like a Fan Fest wrap-up like you would normally for Fan Fest? Yeah, that's exactly what that means. It means that our final show is going to be from the esports arena.
While we are very, very, very drunk.
Yes, and, there's a good chance that there's really only going to be one show that's put together, not a series of 2 shows covering day 1 and day 2, and that'll probably come out on Tuesday. So just so everyone is aware, we will be collecting interviews. We will be talking to people on the floor. We will be getting your reactions to the announcements, and those will go along with one big, FanFest show.
FanFest shit show.
Right. But the thing is the reason that I don't want to do a day 2 wrap up is because I actually want to see the fucking Primals concert for once. Like, don't I get that? Like, after I don't know, fucking 13 years of doing this show, I've never been able to enjoy one concert at FanFest because I've always had to leave halfway through and go and start setting up equipment so that we could catch people as they're walking out. I am availing myself of that responsibility, and I'm going to enjoy the fucking show. That's what I'm going to do.
Hell yeah.
So, there.
Wow.
Take that.
Let's complain about
I'm
it.
not complaining.
Let's complain
I'm not
about it.
complaining.
Why do you keep complaining like that?
I'm just setting the expectations.
I don't get to listen to some music once a year.
Hey,
boo-hoo.
I'm not. None of us are going to be able to see Susan Calloway because we're going to have to, hoof it on over to the esports arena. Well, you're not going to because you don't have a fucking ticket.
Yeah. You're not going to stay for Susan Calloway?
No, I'm not going to stay for Susan. I got to be out.
Nika, are you going to stay for Susan? Yeah, she's gonna stay for Susan. What kind of a friend are you,
depends, because as much as I love Susan, if she's already sang like her couple, like, because the last concert, it was beautiful, but there was a lot of songs that were just the piano or whatever. And if Susan's like done her big stuff at the beginning, then I won't stay. But
yeah,
I will have to see what the I don't know, but like I want to be there as soon as I can. So
yeah, I mean, you're gonna have like lots of auxiliary LBR people setting up at the esports arena.
I don't. No. I don't trust any of those people.
You don't trust Kooky?
I trust Kooky is the only one that I trust.
Kookie's our leader.
Kooky doesn't have it. Yeah, Kooky and Juxta don't have tickets, so they should already be there helping set up.
Yeah, Juxta. I know he's not going to.
I'm going to.
Fuck off.
Plus we have all our +1s going. There's
also,
tons of people over there.
Escalia and Prince Clary, we can have them help, right?
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to like formulating a plan for what we're going to be doing,
yeah,
I'll be there.
You don't matter. I need to be there. So anyway,
how much of a plan are we going to have?
I don't know.
Maybe why don't you make the plan ahead of time?
We've been talking about it, but we don't really.
Well, we have a plan then. Stay and listen to Susan.
We don't really have a plan.
I thought you were making a plan. Either we have a plan or we don't have a plan.
Anyway, you can watch this on Twitch too, by the way. So
you cannot watch the concerts on Twitch though. Those are the only 2 things you can't watch.
Nope. I don't know why that is. I mean, it's not like you can pay
because it's free. It's not paid, and they wanted it to be like, the concerts is something that an experience that only the people there get to, exclusivity
So
for
then
once.
why
in
did
Square
they
Enix.
why did they air them the last 2 years? Just because
Because it was paid.
That's so dumb. So
Yeah,
there's
I don't
just
know.
no record of them ever anywhere.
Well, I mean, whoever records it with
I'll
their
probably
phone.
vlog some of it, and there will be videos, I'm sure.
Boo! Square Enix, dumb idea. Boo!
All right, so let's see. We also have a what was this called? A dev blog titled "And It Burns, Burns, Burns," and it covers the new Eureka zone. And they make.
Oh, I thought it was talking about chlamydia.
I mean, that also burns, burns, burns. But no, we're talking about Pyros, Eureka Pyros, which, as many of you probably know, Pyros is Greek for fire.
Yes.
Because you read this dev post, because it explains it. And it even has...
It says that right there.
Right there. And it has red text saying fire. So
I
now,
see that.
So now you're really sure that it means fire.
So I'm pretty weirded out by the goblin cores.
The Chimera Gobbies, they're pretty cool looking.
That's fucking terrifying.
That is kind of creepy.
They're pretty cool looking. I
Well,
want
it's like
that as a mount.
That's how they're adapting to the fire, is with the gobby masks on.
Okay, maybe.
That's what it says.
Oh, it is?
What?
It says, phew, breathing becomes difficult when you're surrounded by thick clouds of hot air. It would seem that the monsters inhabiting this area have found their own ways to adapt. And then it shows a picture of it wearing the mask.
Oh, yeah.
Is it like flesh or is it a mask?
It's a gobby mask over top of a chimera's face.
Okay, well, A, how did they find so many Gobby masks that exactly fit those chimeras? I think that is flesh. They have Gobby masks.
They've just adapted by growing masks
Flesh.
out of their faces.
Yeah.
That's
There's
even more disgusting.
There's no other logical explanation, Nika.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway, there's apparently a new Logos action system, and you're going to be able to live your dream, Anira, of being a white mage tank. Literally,
It's not my dream.
there is
That's
an
the
ability.
dream of whoever wrote this blog, apparently.
An ability that says Wisdom of the Plate Bearer, and you'll gain 3,000 defense, 50%
Oh my
more.
god, this goes on for fucking ever.
Yeah. And you'll get Incense L, which gesture threateningly, placing yourself at the top of the target's enmity, and increases your enmity generation for 15 seconds, and it has a 20-second recast. So you're
that's
literally a
stronger
tank.
than Provoke. What?
So
Okay.
So now you can have all your not tank jobs be tanks, all your not healer jobs be healers, and all your not DPS jobs DPS.
So nothing matters.
Absolutely nothing matters.
Wow. I hate this. I hate the idea of this.
What's wrong with the concept of having
Yeah, I
absolutely
don't-
nothing
Because
matter?
it just makes everyone the same fucking character.
Yeah, I'm not really sure because it's not going to matter at all in Pyros anyway. They said it's going to matter more in the next Eureka, but
We're getting another one?
oh yeah, there's one more after this.
Oh,
I'm not entirely sure
Oh my god, I fucking hate this.
what, because this is the first time we've ever seen images of what the action bars and what the collecting actions is going to actually look like. It's always just been like speculation. Now we have some visual.
We're gonna finally get the paralyzed spell.
Unless there's a way to take this out of Eureka, then this
What's
is
it matter?
This is a really
Yeah, you
really
can't. I think it's
stupid
just
idea.
for Pyros and the one that comes after.
This is fucking stupid then.
And half the,
And
player
this is-
base won't be able to use it. 'cause
I know what this is. Hang on. No, I know exactly what this is. This is Square Enix going, listen, we know we're not going to have the population to be able to fill these two zones coming up in these next two expansions. I doubt if either of these two zones will hit cap ever. Maybe there's two instances of the zone, but that second instance is never going to hit cap.
That's
Okay.
how Pagos is right now, and there's a ton of people doing it right now.
That's what I'm saying. Is that like, okay, so we've got to make everyone overpowered so that they can continue on to do the content. This
Ooh, I
is
see what you're
fucking
saying.
stupid. This is indicative of we fucked up, so we need to make the content serviceable. This is the same thing that they had to do with Abyssia and making us overpowered for the
Abyssia
rest
was
of the
great.
content.
Bissy was so great.
You know what I mean, though? Like, remember when the level cap was 75, right? And then there was only a limited amount of stuff that you could do solo or with small groups. Everything was like full alliances, even Sky. You know, like you were lucky if you could do it with like 8 people.
Right.
If you could do Sky with 8 people, you fucking ruled.
You didn't need Sky.
Right, exactly. So Abyssia comes out and pops that level cap up, and suddenly things become easier to do in smaller groups. Things become easier to do solo. That is exactly what they're doing with this system, and they know full well that by the 4th iteration of fucking Eureka, that there's going to be 45 people doing it to completion, and that's it. Convince me I'm wrong. Convince me I'm wrong.
But the thing is, though, is that at least then that creates some relic exclusivity, which is something we haven't had in a while because everybody has one. So, like, that's something anyway. Because only 45 people will have it.
Is it? I mean, I don't remember that many people having a relic in Heavensward either, but I also don't remember seeing a relic and going, oh, shit, that person has a relic. Fuck.
Yeah, because it didn't matter because everyone had one.
Right. And well, no, not in Heavensward. Very few people had them in Heavensward.
I think there's like more than what there
more
are
than
now.
there's going to be after this one.
Probably.
I mean, if you were actually playing the game and you were like actively doing it, then most people had a relic, I feel like.
Really?
I feel especially if you were
Heavensward?
raiding, everybody had them, and then nowadays people in raids are like, I can't be bothered because this.
I always thought raiding gear and weapons got a way bigger reaction out of people when they saw them in the wild.
Well, definitely, yeah.
So then, I mean, it's going to still be the same reaction to this. It's like, oh, cool, that person wasted their time in Eureka to get a relic.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be that cool because you know that the relic is not even that good.
Except we all know that Yoshi believes that the true endgame is glamour. So what?
Okay, what does it look like then?
What does it look like? Maybe the glow is so massive, like is actually like 3 characters long, and so when you walk around, there's just like this huge aura of a whale behind you. I mean,
I fucking hate this. I hate it. Hate it so much.
What?
Just the fact that they're dumbing down and making Eureka easier for smaller groups. And it's basically their concession that, listen, we failed. We failed on that point. And that bothers me. That bums me out. Because, like, if they had held to their, I think that what their original vision was, that the content would have been, I think, more interesting. But they fucked up on a couple of key areas, and it just drives me nuts that they dropped the ball so heavily with Eureka. Because it seems to have taken up a lot of development time.
I feel like this is probably them just testing out new abilities, but they don't really want to make a PTR. So Eureka is our PTR because we have Paralyze in here, we have Dispel in here, we have all kinds of different things which we haven't actually seen on any classes yet, but now they're suddenly going to be in Eureka where things don't matter. So if something breaks the game, then it's like, well, it breaks the
Eureka,
the half or the Stormblood relic that was only present for half of Stormblood. So
Arjun Esper saying I'm more inclined to think that this is a test for Blue Mage or a future role action system. Could be. I mean, I doubt it.
I don't think it's for Blue Mage, but hopefully a future role action system. I would be down for that. I would be down for anything that actually differentiates classes in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think I don't like the idea of everyone becoming more similar. Homogenized.
How can they get more similar?
I don't know. Most
Like
jobs
giving
are.
everybody provoke and cure.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody already has provoke and cure.
By taking the purposeful downfalls of the job, right? Like tanks can't do damage, tanks can't heal. Now they can do both those things. Everyone is basically the same superpowered entity. Now DPS can also tank and provoke and heal. You know what I mean? Like
what's the point?
It eliminates the Trinity entirely. I don't see how that's fun. From an MMO perspective, I don't see how that's fun.
It could be fun, but not in 14. Like if they had like all these different kinds.
FF14 seems allergic to fun, but I mean
that's a whole nother discussion. But I could like see an MMO that just removes the whole eternity altogether, and every class has like different enmity abilities, different healing abilities, and like you could like put points or skills into whatever you want your class to actually do. So you could have like healing rogue or whatever. And if you just put all your skills into healing or whatever.
Yeah, but there's got to be a limiting factor. Like, if you just can dump unlimited points and you can get unlimited amounts of those points, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some kind of limiting factor that limits, like, okay, if you're going to dump a whole bunch of points into healing to be a healing tank, then you're never doing anything like damage.
Damn. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, like, increasing, like, your healing would reduce your ability to tank hits and do damage.
But is that fun, though? I don't know that it is.
I think it could be fun.
Okay.
All right.
Well, then go do Eureka.
No, I told you it can't be fun in 14. We already went over that.
I'll be doing it at some point, so I'll let you know.
Nika, I already know it's not going to be fun.
No,
so save your time and your sanity. All right, so we have our latest installment of optional items in the cash shop.
Oh, boy.
And I think Square Enix has nothing but contempt for the player base now. That's
oh, you think?
At this point, there's no doubt in my mind, because now all you fucking whales can buy yourselves a fucking whale.
You can show everyone how much of a whale you are for this fucking game.
$30 for a two-seater.
The thing is that is big enough for 8 people to fit on. And I mean, for how big it is and for how much money it is, for it to not hold more than 2 people is fucking ridiculous.
I mean, like, I would say that if I ever catch any of our fans on one of these things, that I will personally disown or ban them, but I'm 2 episodes away from not caring. I punched my time. I don't give a shit no more. But that's insane that they think that they can get away with $30 for that fucking thing.
I was watching Nika fuck around in Eureka, and I was just shocked and disappointed with how many fucking whales I saw in that stream.
It would make sense in Eureka if it could hold 8 people, because you could, tax your entire party somewhere. That would make sense for people who are really into Eureka. But it's only fucking 2 people. I don't understand how they can get away with $30 for a 2-person mount.
Well, I mean, the other 2-person mount was also $30, so in their minds, it probably makes sense. If you wanted to have a 4-person mount, then yeah, that'd probably be a $50 mount. Would you pay
you think whenever they do release that, it's going to be like $50?
Oh, it has to be.
Like the entire price of the fucking game?
Yeah. Well, why would it not be? Because of all the, quote, utility it has. I mean, it's... In Square Enix's eyes, because you're getting, like... Because 2-person mounts are so rare in this game, that makes it, quote, worthwhile. And if you have a 4-person mount that you can't get anywhere else, then yeah, that's gonna be a $50 mount easy.
Honestly, like the fact that you can't get a 2-person mount in the game, doing things in the game, like you have to refer a friend.
Yeah, there's refer a friend and wedding money. Are the 2 that I have right now, which both, you have to do something outside of the game to get it. Because you can't get it for the free wedding, you still have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then the rest are cash shop.
That's bullshit. That's such bullshit.
Hey,
it does really suck too when people are like, "Oh, you're level 35. There's like a low level person in this Eureka party. Can you take them?" And they're like, "Sorry, I don't have one because it's not possible for me to get one."
Yeah,
it's kind of it is stupid.
But don't worry, guys. This isn't pay to win. There's no slippery slope here.
No pay to win.
You can also buy some walls, golden walls, because Square Enix doesn't let us use the golden dies or silver dies. So if you want golden walls in your studio, you gotta fork up $5,
$5 or $10,
$5 per fucking wall.
Well, oh yeah. If you get 3, you can buy packages of 3 for $10.
Buy 2, get 1 free. Fuck off, Square Enix. Also, there's Omnis Prognostics Orchestral version. You can buy your shitty MP3 for $5.
Great. Awesome. All right. Well,
and this game isn't free to play yet.
No, it should be, though. We're going to open our phone lines. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Let's go to our phone lines and talk to Amira Faywin of Excalibur. What's going on, Amira?
Hi, guys.
Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm happy that I actually get to listen to you guys live. I usually work Sundays, so I'm usually asleep or at work.
Nice. Well,
welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. What's up?
Thank you. I want to talk about how utterly bored I am with this story and just the story and raids in general.
Well, the story and raids in general haven't been good since Coil. That was the only one. That I'm convinced that
why? It's because they decided to tie it into the actual main story and make it important. Whereas with Alexander and fucking Omega, they're like, we have to make it totally separate so that the people who don't do it don't have fear of missing out. Like, fuck off. Why not? Why not make it matter so that more people will fucking do it?
Well, and don't you want to drive fear of missing out? Like, if you're a developer, don't you want to drive that? Don't you want that in your audience? I mean,
it would give me a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so bored with Omega that I went through and I think I went like 2 weeks without doing the new Omega set before my raid team was like, you have to, because you're on raid schedule this week and you kind of need gear. And I was like, fine, I guess I'll do it.
So the only reason you're playing FF14 anymore is peer pressure, it sounds like.
It's fun to play with friends on my day off, but that's really it.
Yeah,
I'm so bored. I went through whatever Saint Mochaccino's Frappuccino Doom, whatever, and I've done it like 4 times now, and I just fell asleep with my keyboard the last time, and I did. I'm a DPS, and I just fell asleep with my keyboard, and no one noticed.
And that's the sad part. Because I do that a lot, and this is something that I do playing MMOs, is that I end up, especially if you're in something that needs to maintain forward progression at all times. If it's ESO or if it's FF14, if it's pushing you along a forward path and that's your only path the entire time, hallway boss, I'm just like, my brain just goes, okay, you just need to keep pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's it. Right? Like, and that's the entire dungeon. And so, yeah, I end up falling asleep. I literally will fall asleep because it's hypnotic to just sit there and
it lulls you to sleep.
Yeah.
It's
like, I think the one thing that actually pisses me off most about the raiding story scene, there's no reason for us to do Savage at all. Like, in game, there is no reason. Like,
you do Savage so you can do Savage better.
Yep.
Yeah, like I was talking to a friend and I was like, even the EX primals for the Warring Triad had a reason. They were a training exercise for the Alligans. That was a throwaway line they put in the game, but gave your character a reason to go do it.
Sure.
Like, it was stupid and it was a throwaway line, but at least it was a reason. Like, there was a reason for it to exist.
Yeah, I feel like, Square Enix at this point doesn't feel like they have to justify their content, right? Like, they're like, well, we could just make it up. It doesn't fucking matter. And I feel like, once they finished 2.0 and they felt like they had no more canon that they had to be loyal to and that they could just throw the rules out of the window, this game became instantly more boring to me. As soon as there stopped being connections back to 1.0, as soon as there stopped being questions surrounding the calamity, I instantly got like divested in the story. And they took it in a direction that I thought was really bad, like actively bad storytelling. So yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, Amira.
Like, I thought, especially coming from 2.0 to 3.0, I thought at least I remember stuff from 3.0 story too. Like, I remember a few things. I remember the Churning Mist and Hooray Spellguard. Like, I remember that. I don't remember a thing from 4.0.
Yeah.
I've actively tried and I don't remember a thing we did. Like, yeah. I know the bullet points, but I can't, like, I can tell you how cool it was having like that camping trip with Alphino and Estinian and Yasael. I just, no. I don't know anything.
Yeah, there wasn't even a big crescendo moment in here where I was like, okay, that was cool. You know what I mean?
We ended up just saving Alamigo, and I was like, wait, we're doing this now.
Yeah, and it's just, it's a dungeon, and now I get to run it every week and remind myself how I saved and liberated Alamigo. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Some of these story points, and I don't know. I wish Square Enix would think through this kind of stuff a little bit more thoroughly.
Yeah, like it just ties like all their storytelling lately, rating and everything. Like Omega's story is just boring.
Oh, it's terrible.
Alexander's story was okay. It's just it didn't make sense until the final Alexander. Like none of it.
It was a big confused. Build up for a Schrodinger's cat joke. Like
exactly.
And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But I didn't even bother doing the last, leg of normal Omega stuff because I'm just that. I'm that bored.
I literally only did it to get gear for my raid team because I genuinely enjoy the Savage fights. Like that's the thing is I enjoy the fights a lot. And I feel like if they put some kind of in-game reason for us to actually do them, a story or anything that brought the raiders in.
No, the story is that if Omega doesn't find some super strong person to fight, they'll just blow up the world.
Well, but the Savage modes that are literally just go in and do this because you can.
No, you mean Savage in particular, yeah. I don't know.
Like there's no reason to do Savage stuff like in game as story. There's nothing driving you to do that. There's
right.
No
technically,
thing at the end.
Technically, you're not even doing the Savage. You're just a song that Yoshi P is singing about.
Yeah, it's just a retelling of what you're doing. Yeah. So
and it's embellished as bards and minstrels tend to do with heroes and stories. Which makes it stronger and makes you stronger.
Yeah. But I agree, though. It makes for a homogenous environment that tends to come off as boring. So, thanks for the call, Amira. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. If you want to join us, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, whether it's raids, whether it's Eureka. Are you excited for Pyros? Did you continue on through what was the last one? What was that? What did you do?
I was turning on theater mode for the YouTube that we're going to be listening to, and for some reason that made it play.
Oh.
I don't know why that did that.
That was alarming.
Yeah.
All right. So, question I want to pose to the two of you and to all of our 59 viewers at the moment, 62 viewers at the moment, is what does Square Enix need to come out and say, FanFest, keynote, to be able to get you to go, okay, wait a minute. I know that I wrote this game off, but maybe this could be okay. What could get you to reinvest in FF14 at this point? Nika, I know you're not quite as divested as Juxta or
I still have an answer, and I know I've said it before.
But yeah, no. And I'm sure that Nika does have expectations. But Juxta, I want to start with you. What does Square Enix need to say? Is there anything that Square Enix can say at this point to make you go, okay, I'm going to hold off on writing this game off as dead?
What Square Enix needs to come out and say and just show on those PowerPoints is just a whole bunch of named events, like things that we're going to do that is different from a dungeon, that's different from a raid, that's different from a 24-man. This is Eureka, and it's going to be different because of this, this, and this. And then we also have Diadem, which is going to be different because this, this, and this. Have 3 or 4 of those things that are just completely different. We're still going to have your dungeons, we're still going to have your raids, we're still going to have your heaven on high, we're still going to have all this other bullshit that we have in the game, but we're also going to give you more content, and it's going to be different content fundamentally. That's what I need to hear at FanFest.
Interesting. So what are you willing to give up to get that?
I'm not willing to give up anything because remember, Stormblood's budget was triple what it was, and we got less shit. So I don't know how much money you need, Yoshi, to make a game that I enjoy, but apparently it's going to have to be triple the budget.
Okay. Nika, how about you? What do you need to hear from Square Enix for 5.0 to get you to reinvest?
I mean, mine's along Jux's, is it literally just has to be another type of end game other than circle boss rooms that still counts as end game, still counts as viable, and is something that I will do either on off nights with my same group, or even maybe with a completely different static or my free company, or something that I'll do, like something that gets me wanting to play it more than 2 days a week.
Does Square Enix have to acknowledge the problem first? Do they have to? Do they have to openly acknowledge? Do they openly have to say, "Listen, we have heard you that our content is too similar between even different types of content, and we're going to do our best to be able to vary that."
I think they have to, or otherwise they won't even realize that they need more content. And I think right now they're in denial. Because he did mention in that one interview that, we've never really thought about changing our raid cycle up a little bit, okay. And so I just feel like that if I was to ask that question at FanFest, even if I said, I'm pretty sure I speak for most endgame raiders here when I say, he'd probably be like, wait, really? What are you talking about? Like, I don't think that he is that they're understanding at all, because so many people want to come to FanFest. That means we're doing something right. And I just don't see that they even really understand.
And we have so many new players coming into the game that we must be doing something right.
Give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. What does Square Enix need to say to you to signal that they get it, that they understand what the problem with their game is moving towards 5.0, and that they are going to meaningfully rectify it? What do you have to hear from them to keep you involved in the game? Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. I mean, I'm in a similar boat as you guys. I definitely think that, I need to hear them talk about content variety and making a real effort to try and not just make copy and paste versions of what's already in the game. But more than that, and this is something that I saw in the chat room that I agree with, is they need to disrupt their gear cycle. And they need to meaningfully make gear that will drive people to do content. That's the biggest kind of, blind spot that I have, or that I think Square Enix has for their gear. That, they have to recognize that the highest eye level that they're putting in the game is what everyone is going to go for. If you put an eye level range of 30 eye levels in, nobody's going to go for the stuff that's 20 eye levels lower than the highest of what you just put in. At the same time, though, there's a very a very vocal minority or a very vocal majority of this game who will say, listen, we're just simply not interested in rating. Doesn't matter what type of gear you put in there, unless it's way, drastically better and it makes the entirety of the game feel easier, then it's really not worth my time rating. Because as Nika had pointed out earlier in the show, all rating does is get you gear that makes rating easier. So unless there's another event type that you can take and apply that gear towards, or unless, we've talked about it in the past, giving some type of glory gear that people will want to not glamour over. Those types of things are really important. And I think Square Enix needs to knowingly, purposefully break their cycle. And the reason that they don't do that is they don't know how to properly develop for characters that have broken their parameters. I feel like they have a development practice of, they put they put their dev team in God mode and give them, stats up to this cap, and then say, is this viable option? Is this possible to do? And what they should be doing is they should be giving people access to super, like high-powered gear where the rest of the eye level is going to be going. At the end of the expansion cycle, where is your eye level gear going to be? You need to be handing those high, super high level pieces of gear out earlier on in your expansion cycle, and you need to be testing players, testing either their patience, their willingness to rerun stuff, or testing their skill to be able to get it. So that's that at least for me, I need to see both of those things, that content is going to change and that gear is going to change as well. If neither of those two things change, I just don't see fundamentally enough changing about FF14 moving forward to keep me at all interested.
Yeah, and to go along with what I said, I think that biggest thing that I want is change in 14. Like with World of Warcraft, every expansion was fundamentally different from the last expansion. So if you didn't really like Legion for whatever reason, then in Battle for Azeroth, it's kind of a clean slate. You can play, and most things will probably be changed, or maybe some things will be the same, but they rework the talent system, or they rework gear or whatever.
Right. And I don't need another battle system rework, right? Like
we could go for another battle system rework, but if it's just that though, no, that's in addition to other things. Like that's not the cake. That's like the little side.
That's the icing.
No, that's the peas that you don't really want to touch, but you have to eat so your mom doesn't yell at you.
Okay,
right. But like, they just need to change up. Like they have to show that they are willing to like try to change their whole game, which seems kind of unfair when you say it like that. When did they change the whole game? But if something's stale in the game, then you need to change it so that way it freshens everything up.
I also feel like they need to figure out a way to go back and incentivize participation in old content.
They had a way, but they changed it.
But they made it into Eureka, and now it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like the
we have
relic.
Wondrous Tales, but who does that anymore?
Right. Well, the relic was a way to get people into doing older content and to funnel them into doing it, and it was effective. But at the same time, though, it was like you lost people about halfway through that grind, which is where you're losing them in the Eureka grind as well. And I just there are so many problems with this game right now as an MMO that I think if they just came out and said, we are going to develop this game for the next 2 years as an MMO and not as a social game, that would be a huge step in the right direction.
I don't know if you'll ever get them to say that this game is a social game.
Well, they've already said
more than an MMO.
They've already said how many aspects of social games they rip off. So I don't know how much more you could say, that we're ripping off social games than that.
I feel like in Yoshi's eyes, they're still more of an MMO than they are a social game.
I mean, maybe according to him, in his eyes, in his opinion.
Yeah, but I don't. Not in reality.
I don't know that that's necessarily the same sentiment that you would get on the player side
from anyone else.
I think when like 90% of the content is like new housing and glamour, that's social game.
Yeah, exactly. Lords of Verminion, that's a social game. You know,
that's a trash game.
I mean, all of that shit. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Ryoku of Sergeant Tannis. What's going on, Ryoku?
It's good. How's it going with you guys?
Oh, not bad. What's up?
Not too much. Just counting the days to FanFest and just messing and then suffering from like playing the Mega Man X series.
Right on. So, what do you want to talk about?
I was just thinking about the fact that it's like, for the most part, when it comes to 14, as much as I still have fun when I blog in and play the game, I do wish that they make some changes with how they do things in the game, especially when it comes to gear, because for the most part, all they are just simple stat sticks. It's like, oh, look, I got more crit. And there's nothing interesting to motivate you to want the gear outside of it's just a higher eye level.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you there, Ryoku. What do you need to hear from Square Enix at FanFest to get you to say, okay, they are aware of the problems that they have in this game?
That's what they need to say. We are aware of our problems and we're trying to fix them.
I don't know that you're ever going to get that, Nika.
I know.
I mean, we got that from 1.0 into 2.0.
That's true. I don't know that we're ever getting it again.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think that they really need to like add on and enhance what they're doing. Like, for example, like what I mean, as much as people really prefer horizontal progression, I like vertical progression because, like, for example, when I've been playing World of Warcraft and I used to raid their hardcore, even though I know everything I did in the previous raid tier gets thrown out, they always made gear that I would always look forward to getting because it was something interesting or adds a new way to put a twist onto how you do things with rotation wise.
Right. Well, with FF14, there is no piece of gear that will ever affect your rotation.
So sad.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that I think would be a motivating factor to want to get people to be like, hey, if this like especially if that stuff drops specifically from like the Savage level raids,
sure,
or content that's equivalent to that. Plus, and then on top of that, like maybe like if they make a raid and have trash mobs that could, who knows, drop like materials that you could make high level equivalent gear for. There's so many ways you can make incentives for people to want to do this stuff.
Totally. And I mean, that's an interesting way to take it, is that, now the strongest gear in the game is craftable, and the mats are just really rare. We saw, a lot of pieces of gear in FF11 that operated off of that, off of that idea.
And surprise, 11 had a fairly decent economy.
Yeah.
Versus 14's, which is just a glamour shop.
I mean, it just seems like the
only things worth money are the level 1 glamour pieces.
But I mean, the idea of like a single digit percentage drop rate is something that FF14 and Square Enix have run from. You know what I mean? Like, and as far away as they can fucking get. And that was something that really drove the underpinnings of FF11 very well. And yes, you are committing yourself to a part of yourself to RNGesus, like that's just
heaven forbid.
That's just part of it. But like that was also kind of the interesting part of it, right? Where it would give you a variety of shit to do in a game. You had specific NMs that you could camp for better gear or profit, and you just don't have that kind of shit in FF14. And it's not just FF14. There's a lot of MMOs that are fundamentally missing out on things like that. Like imagine just having an NM that you needed a item to pop, okay? And the item to be able to pop it drops at like a 2%. 2% chance. And then once you pop the NM, the piece of gear that you want from it is like a 5% chance. I mean, there's a lot of shit that you've got to do. That's a lot of time that you're expending in the game to be able to get something out of it. It's not necessarily difficult, but it is repetitive. And it is, now, in FF11, you had competition for claiming and shit like that too, and it's just like, why did all of that shit get thrown by the wayside? Is it just like, oh, that's not fair? That's the only thing that I could see.
I'm never gonna get mine.
Yeah, that was the only complaint, the only logical and I guess kind of like point that I would put on it is, oh, I feel like I'm never going to get mine. But that's just me fucking complaining. That's not an actual demotivating factor to playing the game. I would say having all of my shit is a real demotivating factor to playing the game. Feeling like I've accomplished all that I can do is a real demotivating factor for logging into the game. Not, oh, I feel like I'm never going to get it. Like, dude, that's just being at the mercy of RNGesus. Like, join the fucking club, dude. You know? What happened to that? Like, what happened to that notion in an MMO where it's like, listen, not everything is going to be fair for everyone. We don't need to make everything fair. At some point, someone came along and was like, no, we really need to make everything fair. Why? Was it to create a less toxic environment? Why?
It's to appease the we wants.
That's the only answer that I can come up with, and that's fairly fucking frustrating. I don't know, Ryoku, are we crazy in saying that would be something cool to add to FF14, or is that some shit that, you know, MMOs have left by the wayside, you know, for good reason?
Well, I also think about like another way to look at it is also while also keeping it in the end, like the actual end game scene is like I miss like one of the things like that was cool about like older and WoW was the fact that if you beat the bosses in a specific way, which was involving unlocking the hard mode, and then you beat them all, there was an extra boss on top of that you got to fight, which was even harder than the technical last boss of the raid, and there was even more root and extra story scenes that you could get from that, and which was the motivating factor for people to get better, to want to see that.
Right. And no, I mean, I agree with that, but you know,
before we can have that, we have to have actual raids.
Yeah, that's true.
Raids. Yeah, that is true. I do wish the raids, as good as they are mechanically, I just wish aesthetically that they actually felt like you're going through an actual raid, rather than like now it's just, oh, we just appeared in a circle and that's it. After going from Bahamut, which was the closest that we felt to a raid, and then Alexander, which was just a straight hallway to the boss, and now it's just, oh, here's the boss.
Arjun Esper in our chat room saying he's been watching a lot of Red Dead streams and people start complaining as soon as a cutscene goes for more than a minute. Modern gamers have the attention span of goldfish. They just want to hit the boss, get their loot, and move on to the next game. And I think that there's probably an aspect of that's true. There are some people who, no matter what you tell them, are gonna they don't care about the story. They just want to play the actual game, and that's fine.
Then again, they've forgotten what it was like for long cutscenes with games like Xenosaga during the PS2 era.
Oh Jesus, or like
Kingdom Hearts 2 opening tutorial,
Metal Gear Solid 4. You know what I mean? Like
that was a movie.
Yeah, exactly. It was more a movie than it was a game. And the thing is, you know, and I understand some of that, right? Like I understand a degree of that. I tend to get like, if I'm not involved in the story, if I'm not invested in the story and the story takes forever, I get annoyed with it, right? If I'm invested in the story and you're taking a long time to tell it, that's different. I want you to take every minute that you need to tell that story because I'm invested. I want to know what happens.
We got to have a good story first.
Right.
Yeah, and also what I see why when people make that complaint is sometimes they mistake inconvenience for making things a little bit less invested into what they want to do.
Yeah, but I think that has, you know, diminishing returns. You know, like the easier you make something, that means that people are only going to play it less. Right? Like the easier you make something, when someone says this takes too long, what they mean is I don't like this and I need to get through it to get to the part that I like. Okay, whether it's story or whether it's bad gameplay, one of those two factors, that means that you've made to that person something that is a fundamentally bad game. Okay, there should be a way to balance those two aspects so that you get something that's satisfying. And it's not going to be satisfying to everyone. Not everyone is going to like every game that's ever put out there. But to make it satisfactory to the widest possible audience, you've got to try to balance that aspect. And when something gets out of whack, that's when people start to become exasperated with the process of playing it. And I think that there is an amount of that in FF14 with the copy and paste design methodology where people are just rejecting it. And I see people who have joined up during Stormblood that are now going, dude, this is the same shit. This is the exact same content that you had at the beginning of this expansion. Where's the different shit for me to do? If you can recognize that inside of a single expansion, then there is something fundamentally fucked with your development process.
Yeah, for the most part, like even now is like, even though, like I said, I still enjoy the game, but I only play it now once a week to keep in touch with the game, because I don't play it anywhere near as much as I did during Heavensward or hell even 2.0, when I used to play it like almost every day.
And that's sad for an MMO, right? An MMO, you should be so invested in that world that you should want things to take a long time. If you're not invested in the world enough to be like, listen, I only want this to take about 10 minutes because that's all I have to devote to this before I have to move on to your other thing, you're not playing the right kind of game. You're not playing the right type of game for your lifestyle or for your life or for your level of investment in the world. I was invested enough in this world where I wanted shit to take time and have meaning to it. Not just like, oh, go here, press the thing, come back, turn in the quest, now you have the thing. That's like 90% of the content in this game. Run the dungeon, get the points, exchange the points at the coupon voucher, and voila, now you have some
item level +2.
Yes, exactly. And that to me is fucking boring. Boring. Like, there's no sense of adventure there. Like, I'm just logging on to do my duty, and then
logging on to do my roulettes.
Yeah.
All right. Did my 4 roulettes. Logging off. Gonna do it again tomorrow.
Where's the grand adventure in that? That's just doing fucking tedium. That's tedious fucking homework. You're doing homework at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty much tedium in the opposite direction, because like I remember going during the Final Fantasy 11 days, spending like 8 hours farming Uli and not getting anything just so he can spawn
and being happy with that, right? Like I remember fucking camping NMs for days and weeks in FF11. I remember being frustrated with either not getting the drop or getting the claim, but I don't ever remember going, I fucking hate this game, and wanting to quit. It never bored me. It pissed me off, but it never bored me. And guess what? I get motivated when I get pissed. I'm more likely to see it through when I get pissed.
Honestly,
I'm not the kind of person that gets discouraged when they get pissed off. I understand that that's like 50% of the population, but that's not me, right?
I feel like I didn't get bored with it simply because I was unaware of what MMO content should be, and that you shouldn't be standing around for 24 hours waiting for a spawn. Like, if we had that nowadays, I would be bored.
Well, sure.
Well,
I mean,
for me, it's like what kept me invested and wanted to do was I was with a fun link share at the time that we talked and had fun doing it, even though we spent 8 hours sometimes getting absolutely nothing. We at least had fun with each other's company for the most part while doing it. That's the one positive thing I could give about it.
Right. We have that in 14 too. I feel like that's why a lot of people stay raiding, because of the company.
And Roto just bringing up a great point. What FF14 is missing is a sense of achievement in getting a drop. Yeah.
That is true.
100%. Because it doesn't matter. Even if you go through a dungeon and you do a dungeon and you know, maybe if there's no drop that you want from there, maybe you don't need anything from any dungeon in all of Eorzea. You just need the tomes. Well, you do them enough, you're going to get that piece of gear. That is boring to me. Like, a points exchange for gear progression is boring and bad.
Especially if it's like the primary way of getting your gear.
Let me ask you something, Juxta. You're a D&D fan.
Yep.
You've DM'd before, too.
Yes.
As a DM, how interesting for your players would it be if you went, okay, you killed that monster and you got 45 points and you need 180 to exchange for this item. There's no items that dropped, by the way. If they did, they're all useless and they're all garbage, and no one's ever going to use them. But you need to do this dungeon again. Exactly the same way you did it before. Do it again and get 40 more of those points so that you can get up to 180 so you can exchange for the piece of gear that you want. Does that sound like it would be exciting for your fucking players?
That would be awful.
Where's the sense of adventure? Like, honest to God, that's the thing that's missing for me from FF14. Where is the sense of adventure sending you out into a world that should be dangerous to you? You can spend 90% of your time in fucking cities just queuing for dungeons, and it'll take you to here, this, where, that, all over the fucking world of Eorzea to let you power up, and now you go outside and the world means nothing to you. It's a really fundamentally bad way to design a game that is supposed to inspire awe and adventure. Like,
yeah, for the most part, like the tome system and whatnot is fine if it was a supplementary to something else, but to make it a primary one for how they've been doing it is not a good direction.
I agree. And in fact, just based off of that, Ryoku, that just knocked loose an idea. What if the main gear that you needed was out of dungeons? And like drops out of dungeons, right? And the tone gear was a drop, was like an eye level step below that, so that you're buying gear that's a step below what you need, and you're running dungeons for the random piece that you need.
Oh, but
that sounds a little bit annoying. I'm sure that there's going to be some people who are like, oh, but that's going to mean it's going to take forever for me to get my piece of gear. That means that you don't like this world, dude. Get out. Like, log out of Eorzea. If that's what you're actively campaigning for, oh, it's going to take that much longer for me to get my piece of gear. Well, you don't want to actually play in this world. Now get the fuck out.
Yeah, or even for the most part, like, be like the way to get to the as the intro level for that patch, rather than being like, oh, it's the same level as everything else. So you work towards getting that, and then use that to go into what you want to do instead.
Right, exactly. Just being able to have, like, just in case, like, you can't ever get that drop to actually drop for you, or have someone else lean on it, then you have a slightly worse item that you can get just as a fallback plan, instead of having, just to not have a gear at all. So, yeah, I mean, it's the way that 11, I don't think that 14 could ever actually do gear the way that 11 did, or for 14 ever did, because in 14, once you get like your arm slot or your leg slot, then that's basically done. Like, you have your one slot, which is basically the highest item level you got, versus 11, where you have your TP set, you have your weapon skill set, you have multiple weapon skill sets, you could have your tanking gear, you could have your evasion gear. There's all kinds of different gear sets that you could have in Final Fantasy 11 that just wouldn't even make sense in 14.
Right.
Yeah, and also there was gear like back from Zillet that even when you looked at like stuff that came out with Wings of the Goddess, you look back and it's like, why would I go after stuff that's in Wings of the Goddess when the stuff I have from Zillet is better than that?
Yeah.
Which is one thing why me personally, I prefer the vertical one, because vertical progress is because I always liked having something to look forward to, rather than it's like, oh, I got my stuff from endgame stuff that was implemented 5 years ago. Why do I care about stuff that's going to come out now when this stuff is like good forever.
No, and I think that the way that Square Enix did horizontal progression throughout FF11 was bad, because when like when FF11 got to the point where they needed to do Abyssia, do you remember the dumb shit that they were doing with gear? They were doing like, trade your chest piece to this random point in Vana'diel and we'll give you a random stat back
the
on
augment
it.
system?
The augment system.
You get +5 fire resistance.
And the thing is that it was so bad because they had run out of ways to make horizontal progression interesting, so they went back to vertical progression and looked at that. But see now, like, because I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online for, you know, like probably a little under a year. And what I thought was really interesting that they did about their horizontal progression system is that it's vertical progression up to champion level 160. And after that, all gear caps at 160. All gear, right? So now you have some wiggle room to work within as you're trying to min-max certain bonus stats, right? So you're trying to get you know, several pieces of gear from one set, several pieces of gear from another set, and several pieces of gear from a third set to be able to maximize your gear bonuses. And what can happen is it can lead to you running a dungeon for, you know, 3 months and still not getting the piece of gear that you need. And it can be a little bit annoying, right? But at the same time, that horizontal progression never throws out anything else that I get in the game. So I can get a piece of gear or a set of gear that's not quite as good as what I'm going for, but it's almost as, you know, it's almost as good. And I can use that until I get my other pieces of gear, or until I find a better, another gear set that I like more with better bonuses. So, you know, it gives you a certain amount, a degree of wiggle room. What vertical progression does is it stops, it caps all progress inside of an eye level range and says, nope, this shit is irrelevant now. It's all about what's in the next eye level range. That's the problem that I have, is because now all of that gear that you've spent a ton of development time on in the past is now irrelevant. And all of the balancing efforts that you did are irrelevant. That's the problem that I have with consistently vertical progression. Because there's no point where you're ever able to gear yourself up for a long period of time.
Longest period of time is 3 months, 4 months.
That's it. For anyone. Doesn't matter at any level of the game. Whether it's, you know, just running dungeons or whether it's running raids every week, whatever. It's the same for everyone. And to me, like, having that 3-month counter that resets every 3 months, like, is the most preventative thing for me ever coming back to the game. Because I know if I come back, I can get myself caught up really quickly and really cheaply. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like,
I haven't like even been remotely close to eye level cap in like 2.5 years. It's been a long time. Like, at this point, like, my item level stagnates so hard that I have to like scrounge the market board just to meet the minimum eye level to do the dungeons and do the Omega shit.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't even matter because I'm still doing the content easy peasy.
Exactly. It's how much of a barrier for entry is it for you? Like, not.
It's like 5 hours to be able to do the stuff that came out that day. If that. Even less if I spend money on it.
And the thing is, and I think this is where all of us as long-term players of this game are at this point, is that when you have that level of monotony, when you have that level of feeling like things never change or never deviate from this pattern, then that's what drives your veteran players away in droves. As they're like, this is totally predictable. I'm, you know, like they have the exact same mentality as me. I know exactly what I'm going to have to do to, you know, I'm going to have to run 6 dungeons 4 times to be able to gear up enough to, you know,
to do the stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And then log off because I've already done the stuff.
Right. So, and without more stuff to do, what's the fucking point? Ryoku, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, and can't wait to see you guys at FanFest.
Yeah, we're gonna have a really good time at that party, man. Can't wait.
Yep.
All right, if you want to call Limit Break Radio, Limit Break Radio on Skype at 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. So I don't think we have any more calls on hold.
Nope. Do we want to go into? I mean, it's no longer Juxtober anymore.
No, it's
Juxtovember.
Juxtovember.
It's Juxtovember, which isn't a thing. So don't even try anything with that. But I do have one more Juxtober entry if we want to go through that.
This is the FF14 show, right?
This is the FF14 show. Mog News.
Nika, how mean are you feeling today?
I'm really tired, so not super.
All right, we're gonna need to get you, Nika. You're gonna need to get your mean face on, okay?
I mean, I wasn't like super nice to the other one, so maybe I'll.
No, I understand, but this is someone from our own community, so I need to hear your aggressive face. No, you need to do a little bit better. Come on.
I got 4 hours of sleep after streaming for 27 hours.
Just give me one good There we go. Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right. I think we can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this is Mog News.
Mog News.
Now, I've never heard of this.
Not to be confused with Mog Talk, who's actually a decent podcast made by Frosty.
Right.
Mog News was made by Mina and Zakarn, and it's
who are they?
Who? What?
Who are they?
Who are they?
Who are they?
They're Mina and Zakarn.
Yeah, I know, but are they supposed?
I assume one of them submitted it to us, right?
I'm not actually sure who submitted it because they didn't leave a name.
Oh, okay.
So I assume it's one of those two.
What if a listener submitted this and we're just going to rip them apart and they didn't ask for this?
You know what? I'm kind of okay rolling those dice.
Yeah, it's in the spirit of Juxtober anyway. So.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So this is a dead podcast for this dying game, and the last episode was September 29th, 2013. Or just before patch 2.1.
Whoa.
Okay, so right after Realm Reborn launched.
Basically.
So this was a fresh.
So they had picked up a Realm Reborn, and within 3 months they were like, yeah, we don't need to do this anymore.
Well, there's no end to the show. There's no formal exit.
Because September 29th, 2013 was before Limit Break Radio started back up.
Was it?
So it's not like we were even, kicking ass and taking names yet.
Well, let's okay. I don't know what to say to that, so I'm just gonna go back to my copy I wrote. So let's listen to the bright-eyed Mina, Zakarn, and special guests Shardfire and Stuzak.
Who is Stuzak?
Stuzak.
If they're special, what makes these guests special?
I don't know.
Well, maybe they'll say. Maybe they'll do better than the last
won't, Nika.
podcast did.
They won't.
Oh. Damn.
And you couldn't choose which boring name to go with, Stuzak, so you just chose both. Well, for the duration of this episode, I'm going to be your host, Bob Carl, and I'm going to go take you down this rabbit hole so you can see exactly why Mog News did not go past their massive 4 episodes.
4 episodes.
4 episodes.
Wow.
And that's even being a little generous, because if you look at their YouTube, episodes 2 and 3 were 8 minutes long, 10 minutes long.
That's not a real episode length.
It's really not.
But this one's an hour and a half?
This was an hour and 20 minutes. An hour and a half. So, but the one thing I will commend them on is their opening.
Okay.
It's actually, they have a little news graphic that goes over, and it's reminds me of CNN.
Oh, okay.
So that's the best part of the whole show if you want to show that on stream. If you don't want
Not particularly.
All right, that's fine then. So let's just go ahead and go into it then.
All right. Generic news sounder number 5.
Yep. Just wait for it.
Greetings and welcome to Mog News with your host, Mina and...
Whoa, hold on.
That's cute, actually.
No, it's not. No, it's not. What? Why is he doing one of these?
It's
because this is the way the news talkers talk.
News. It depends if it's their shtick or if it's just like.
Can you listen to an hour and a half of this guy talking like this the whole episode?
Is that what he does the whole show?
I'm not going to spoil it for you. Just remember that I did an LBR opener where I had Kallo do this, reporting on news. It went out really well.
Oh my God.
If it's just their intro, I think that's kind of okay and cute, but if it's the whole show, no.
Bringing you new developments in the Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn universe, along with their unique insights on the topics. Let's turn things over to our anchors and find out what they have in store for us today.
Good day, and welcome to another episode of Mog News. I'm your host.
Okay, so it was just their intro.
It's just their intro.
Okay.
I don't hate it.
That's okay.
He has a decent like voice acting voice. It wasn't awkward or too cringy.
The music was too loud, though. The music was the music was competing.
But I think it was kind of cute. That's like their little, because they're Mog News. It's their news intro. I don't hate it.
Okay, all right.
Karn, and with me today is Mina.
Hello.
And we have a couple of special guests today. We have Shardfire.
Howdy.
And Stuzak.
Hello.
Okay, so mic volume is going to be lesson number 1 for these folks.
Oh no, not the awful staticky noise that keeps on happening throughout the entire episode.
No, that is mic volume because what that is that's someone's mic peaking.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't peak.
That's bad. I mean, it's not as bad as like someone who, like clearly has never been in front of a microphone before. Like this guy was trying to get as much loudness out of his signal as he possibly could, which I commend him for.
I'd take that over the last podcast where you couldn't understand one guy because it cut out every other word.
Yes, I will take that over that any day. But the peaking is a problem. And he's probably going to need to just back down that volume just a hair. Just a hair. So,
all right, there's been a lot of developments in the Final Fantasy XIV universe recently. There was a Game Watch interview with Yoshi P where there was a lot of interesting information exchanged there, as well as the letter from the producer live at PAX. Much of the same information in each. There's little extra tidbits, and I'd like to sort of try going over some of it.
Like, dude, his like that peaking is so bad. I want to turn down my headphones.
Yeah,
but I know it's on the recording, so I know it won't do anything. Oh my God, that is terrible.
Isn't it awful?
It is.
I kind of want to start off with something that has been really a big concern with a lot of people is the gill selling.
What? Wait, what? At what point was gill selling a problem in this game?
Are you kidding? When 2.0 launched, every single chat in all of the city-states were just spammed because there were no RMT filters in the game yet. So you just walk through Limsa and like nonstop spam.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I remember that, but there was also the blacklist feature, which would,
blacklist
take care of it.
was not implemented.
Yes,
right away.
It was.
No. You had to type in the name. You couldn't you couldn't report them. You could just blacklist them by typing their name in, but you couldn't click on it in your chat and do it, and you couldn't report them yet.
Yeah, but fucking money had no impact on this game ever. So you mean to tell me that RMTs are ruining the fucking game? No, they're just making your chat life a little bit more difficult. They actually had, at no point did they have an actual impact on this fucking game.
No, in terms of the economy, like in 11, Gil buyers had an impact because of the way the economy went. This game does not.
110%, Nika, yes. In FF11, RMT was a huge problem. RMT has never been anything but a vague nuisance in FF14. They've never prevented anyone from, they've never stolen a fucking mob from a claim group. Nothing. They have had no impact on FF14 whatsoever. And that is something that, you actually probably should commend the dev team for, because that was a serious problem in FF11. But now I think that they've they've shrunk the RMT business and the RMT problem to the point where they could drown it in a bathtub. You know what I mean? Like you could absolutely have a MMO that operates off of, you know, older MMO economic principles and still have it be viable. I feel like, you know, FF14 feels like they need to keep the RMT menace out of their game, and I think that it's just a straw man at this point. I'm sorry, RMT have never been a problem in FF14, and if they made, you know, like we were talking about earlier, if they had drops that spawned certain NMs, or if, you know, those NMs dropped items that could be crafted into super high level pieces of gear, right?
Anything that dropped was worth money.
Exactly. I don't see RMT at this point in the game being able to do dick about any of those things, because they would have to play the game so fucking much to be able to get to the point where they could impact those things that they wouldn't. It would cease to be effective for them.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue.
I find that to be a big problem.
It is. They've taken over the Shout channel, which is very regrettable. They're sending tells to people now with advertisements. These guys are worse than the bloody Jehovah's.
I do remember the tells though.
It was a pain. And think of it, remember, this is right before 2.1 dropped. So like, while the economy was somewhat established, it wasn't necessarily known that like, hey, guild sellers are never going to matter because guild's never going to matter.
That's
like,
true.
None of that had been put into play yet.
No, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I guess.
Swear.
Yeah. Well, on the end of guild sellers, they've always been this way. Every MMO that I've ever played, they are the exact same. They're relentless in any trade channel, any general channel, and they still tell people. The problem is the player base is actually supporting these people by buying their guild.
Exactly.
Now, fast forward years and years later, and we have the cash shop and no guild seller problems at all. But the problems are still the fucking same. Because you assholes out there support Square Enix doing the fucking cash shop stuff, that's what we get every 2 weeks. Is we get a new cash shop update, like a $30 whale mount. Like, they're not even being subtle about it anymore.
Not even a little bit.
Nope.
Like, if you're going to do a whale mount, wouldn't you have done that when Bismarck was a thing?
Thank you.
You'd think.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because when I had said it out loud at the office, right, Ascali had piped up and was like, what, like Bismarck? And I was like, no.
No, it's just a whale.
No, it's just a whale. And he's like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it didn't even come out when we had like the Kojin stuff because, you know, it was like the new going under the water. Nope. It's just
a whale.
Just a whale.
It's just a whale.
For no reason.
Whale for the whales. Ugh.
All right, so we're gonna skip ahead, but
good.
But we're still gonna talk about RMTs.
Fuck.
At least something to think about.
Not only that, but the other problem that these guild sellers are creating for the legit players is it's destroying our economy. So that way, it's making it difficult for those that want to buy gear from the market. They can't do it because they just can't afford it anymore.
Keep in mind, raids were not as big of a thing at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, fair, but you didn't really buy gear from the market board to compete with raid gear.
Did 2.1 was the first raid, wasn't it?
No, Bahamut was in 2.0.
It was?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, because remember...
Yeah, I think through T5 might have been.
LBR history, Ascalia made this huge rant from some con where he was complaining that the Crystal Tower gear was completely pointless because it didn't even touch the raid gear that was already out for a whole patch.
Yeah, but I don't... I do remember what you're talking about, but I don't think LBR started until after 2.1. So I think we...
No, I think we had a couple episodes before 2.1. I think we did.
I don't think we did.
I'm pretty sure we did.
If we did, it was like the pilot, and that was it.
Could have been. Keep in mind, back then, an LBR was a month between recordings. And then,
yeah, that's true, too.
And then 3 little mini episodes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. God, how much has changed?
Wow, yeah.
there is in the game is the economy. There's a lot of gill sinks in the game, but there's not enough gill fountains.
There is? What? Wait, what? There were gill sinks?
Yeah, back in 2.0, you had to repair your gear.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I'm looking here. Episode 1, Part 1 was looking ahead to patch 2.1. So it was somewhere through patch 2.0.
Pretty much the tail end of 2.0.
Yeah.
People say, oh, I can make a lot of money selling stuff on the auction house, but that's just a shuffling of funds. We need ways to be able to go and generate new gil into the economy, and that's been going at a very slow rate. Like when they calculated it all, they had made a few little errors, and they didn't account for certain things, so that's kind of thrown things off, and that almost pushes people to going to buying the gil because they just need that money. They don't have the money that should be in the game, and Yoshi has recognized that. He's looking at ways of trying to fix the gil issue.
I don't think that straw man argument ever panned out. Just saying.
I mean, teleport costs were just through the roof.
Through the roof.
All right, so he complains a little bit more about needing money, so we're going to skip all that.
So what I'm taking away from this was that his ass was broke.
Pretty much, yep. And he died a lot because he had to repair his gear so much.
Oh.
All right, so we're going to move
Sounds
ahead.
like he's a bad.
I mean, with a name like Zakarn.
Long way.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, Final Fantasy XIV is still a baby. It's still young. We'll just ignore the whole 1.0 thing. But, it's still a brand new game. They have lots of room to grow. And I've watched this community grow from 1.0 launch to today. And just seeing the shifts and how the developers do listen to the players. A lot of people say they don't, but they do.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, they really do.
I'm sorry, what?
They listen to the players.
I'm sorry, what?
They know they listen to the players.
I'm sorry, what?
In 2.0, I felt that way too, because it was such a shift from Tanaka when Yoshi was like, hey, I'm going to do a letter from the producer. Hey, I'm going to put a poll on the forums to see what the players want. Hey, I'm listening. I remember in 2.0, I was really excited that I was like, I only ever saw Tanaka on looking like a stuffy businessman staring angrily at people, and I knew nothing about who he was, about how he was running the game. And then this, Yoshi comes in and flips it all around. I felt the same way.
Boy, our optimism was really not well placed, was it? Yikes.
And he's really on top of it. Like, you don't have to comment on everybody's little petty whine every time for them to be listening to you, and they don't even have to comment at all for them to be listening.
They just have to be frequenting the forums, and I mean, it's nice.
And banning anyone that they don't agree with.
Any dissension gets a ban.
That's right.
Exactly. That's how you listen.
Yeah, totally.
Developers do interact with their player base. Again, going back to Star Citizen, if you take a look at their forums, their developers are on there all the time, reading forums, reading people's suggestions, making tweaks to what they have. They have an episode of their news called Wingman's Hangar every Friday, and they take questions from the forums, whether they're video questions or just written questions. They'll answer them to the best that they can. Now, they can't answer all of them, obviously. Being a game in development, but because they don't want to spoil anything. But they're a very, very transparent company.
No, no, they're not. Just straight up. No.
Award-winning MMO Star Citizen. Final Fantasy XIV can learn something from them.
Right. Well, here's the thing. As we later discovered, Square Enix really just wanted to listen to all of the whiners who are complaining about things being too hard so that they could take the teeth out of them and make everything fair for everyone for some reason. I don't know why that has to be a development strategy. Oh, just try not to upset anyone. Someone in the chat had, Deathcloud had said in the chat, I remember when they had player surveys for the direction of the game. I also remember when they didn't give a shit back in FF11 what the fuck they did. They didn't care. They were like, oh, players aren't happy? Good.
That's
Good.
nice.
Yeah.
We're going to give Samurai another way to self-skill chain.
Yeah. Lloyd put it exactly what I was driving at. Something I loved about FF11 is how they didn't give a shit what we thought and did whatever they wanted to. And you know why? Because they know how to develop a game. We don't. Fundamentally, right? Like
in theory.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. But at the same time, though, like, I'm not saying that feedback is a bad thing. I think that Square Enix in the 2.0 era buried their head in the sand for a lot of the serious critiques of their game. I don't know if they took those critiques personally or to heart or something, but it does seem to me like banning anyone that you don't agree with is not generally a good strategy for figuring out where the short-sightedness in your game development strategy is going, right? Like, if
but at that point, it wasn't short-sighted. It was just what we're going to start doing, and nobody ever knew what 14 was going to do back then. Nobody knew it was just going to be a copy-paste of the copy-paste of 1.0.
I mean, kinda.
15 people. So it's just that bad news travels faster. Unfortunately, that's just the way society is. Well, how about we move into some of the stuff that they're going to be adding in? Some of the new things that they're coming out with, because it's a growing game and patch 2.1 is on the horizon.
It certainly sounds fun.
No,
indeed.
You're gonna be surprised. Although, no, Crystal Tower was fun.
I mean,
and remember, we're not judging them based on what actually ended up happening.
I know.
In 2.1,
I mean, I am, but that's okay.
In 2.0, we were fairly excited too.
In 2.0 or 2.1, everything that was being added was brand new.
That's true.
Think about that.
That's true.
Yeah, there was no like repetitive feeling anything yet.
Back
it was
to the
all
golden
new.
age.
Yeah, right. I mean, there was a little bit of repetitiveness. We did get 2 new dungeons.
I know, but they were
the
new
thing is, like,
dungeons. That was so cool back in the day.
It was so cool back then.
Think of all the lore we might get for the new places and going back there when we had a reason to go back there with a lore reason. That's so great.
Okay. Okay, so some of the things that they're adding in is the PvP system. I'm not sure if you guys had
pre-PvP.
Pre-PvP.
I remember that.
A chance. Oh, you may not have been, because they did a brief PvP trial during the open beta where only 1.0 characters were allowed to play it because they were the level 30 and they were able to join it. It was really chaotic.
Yeah, I was just trying to find it on the right page, and I think I found it now.
The PvP is really nice how they're doing it in this. It's not open world PvP, because Final Fantasy has never been about killing other players, and whereas World of Warcraft, it was based off of an RTS, so it had that big premise for an open world, big wars against other players. So in this, they're having it in a specific area called the Wolves' Den. It's going to be at first it's going to be 4 versus 4. Eventually, they're going to have 8 versus 8 battles. They're going to have something called front lines, which is like you storming castles. I think. They haven't really
no, not quite.
Yes, that sounds interesting. And it's going to start from levels 30 to 40 to 50.
I mean, I would have been interested in a siege. I would have been interested in a siege system. But no.
I mean, I would still be interested in a siege system.
We got rival wings. That's a siege system.
No, it's not.
It's not? You have to, like, attack the towers. They have cannons they shoot at you from.
Okay, I've never done it. So.
There's siege engines.
Is there really?
I mean, kind of. They're just Alexander bosses.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Carletta is saying this is like a podcast time capsule. A little bit.
A little bit. It's kind of fun. All right, we're going to skip ahead because they just focus on PvP for a while.
Oh my god.
So instead, we're going to listen to about crafters.
See that really being sustainable, unfortunately?
Why do you do this to me?
Why?
Like, why do you take a conversation that is quantifyingly the most boring thing I've ever heard, and then you go, okay, we're going to stop it right there, and we're going to move on to an even more boring conversation. How is that possible?
Eat it, dick.
Fucking hate you.
But they are having other things now with the housing, especially where the crafters will be a very integral part of the world, which is great news for crafters.
I'm looking forward to people being able to. I'm not sure if it's been mentioned yet, but I'm very much hoping that at some point we'll be, we'll have our little retainer bell there, and maybe that's crafted, and maybe a market board in there as well that you can craft, so you can do your auction houses and everything from there.
Yeah. Well, speaking to that, they are going to they want to have like a little kiosk you can put outside where you can put a retainer, and they can sell stuff right outside your house.
Sugar dates and figs.
Hey, that eventually happened.
What was going on there? What did we just pause on?
Well, let's back up a little bit.
Is that a drop?
No, it's not a drop.
Oh, that was somebody singing?
Dates and pistachios.
Indeed.
Hot pockets, come and get your hot pockets.
They're talking about the retainer selling stuff.
Yeah, they're the retainer selling, so clearly
we didn't get that till way later, right?
Oh yeah, that didn't come for a long time.
But now I'm trying to think of ways to actually give criticism to the podcast, because we can't criticize them for being wrong about what was to come, because that's not fair.
That's true.
But
I was actually just about to say, as a podcast, it's not that bad.
They're not too bad. I will say their host dynamic could use a little bit of work. There's a girl on the show, I think, Mina. She hasn't talked at all.
Yeah, she hasn't talked at all.
Anything.
She just did that really funny joke.
I can't say she hasn't talked at all, but she compared
dates,
to
sugar dates and figs. Sugar dates and pistachios.
I mean,
there's 4 people on this podcast, and I really only hear 2 talking. Granted, we do that sometimes too, but I feel like their hosts, I think they just need to be around each other a little bit more and feel each other out a little, and kind of just a little bit more host chemistry. But that's my only criticism right now.
I feel I don't know, I haven't outside of the Aladdin reference, I have not heard the girl talk whatsoever. Does she talk at any other points, or are we just fast forwarding through them?
We're fast forwarding through some of the points when she talks.
Oh, okay.
She's kind of boring.
Okay.
Except for that really funny joke she did.
Yeah, it's not.
That was a pretty good joke.
It's not. I almost feel like this podcast fails the Bechdel test. She's because
the Beagle test.
No,
she's a bird.
No,
she failed it. So
keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the whole point of that clip, was for that really funny joke that I wanted
That was
you to
terrible. Move on.
All right. Well, we're moving on, and we're gonna be listening about the possibility of fighting Moogle as a primal. And so we're going to get really in depth on that.
Wait, Moogle was in 1.0 though?
It was.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how it's.
That would be cool.
So Moogle is a primal.
Well, that was the thing. They didn't call him a primal in the other one, but he was a primal style fight. I think I'm gonna wait for a bit more clarification on that before I totally comment on it. But
yeah,
well, I don't know. We've had Moogles being summoned as summons in previous Final Fantasies, so I don't see why it's too crazy. I mean, Moogles are very special, cute things, and being able to beat the crap out of one sounds like a lot of fun.
It'd be cool if you.
I don't think it's ever a good idea to beat up the guy who delivers your mail, Stu.
That would explain the bomb I got last time.
Don't piss off the people who cook you your food.
Yes, I mean,
see, you hear all these good rapid fire jokes they got going on.
They're rapid fire whiffs.
Rapid fire.
But I mean, that was at least a little bit more entertaining than what they were doing before.
Tell a good joke. Tell one with a fucking punchline.
But I'm a little confused about what they're talking about. In 1.0, they said there was a primal style fight. Wasn't he still called a primal in 1.0 too?
I think he was, yeah.
I feel like he was, or at least he was presented as one.
I remember the 1.0 fight being more interesting, too, than the 2.0 fight.
In 1.0, you had to kite them around and pick them off one at a time. Remember that? You had one person running around with all the ads, and you'd pick them off one at a time.
Was it that to get there, you had to not aggro a whole bunch of trees, and you had to walk instead of run? I remember that part of it.
Oh, maybe.
I think to actually get to the arena, you had to not aggro.
Yeah, you couldn't just queue up for stuff.
Yeah.
You had to
actually go to the entrance.
And to get into Garuda, Ifrit, and Moogle Mog, you had to farm items from random mobs. I still have some of them in my retainer.
Yeah, I do too. I still have some of the Ifrit ones.
I have some of.
Why don't you toss those? They're worthless.
I don't know.
Collector's item.
Yeah, right. Because no one else has them. All right. Well,
luckily
also,
I only have myself to piss off on that end of things.
also coming in with 2.1 will be extreme mode fights for the primal battles. I'm not sure if we're going to call it extreme or hyper or what, but it's going to be an added level of difficulty for people to challenge themselves on.
Weren't hard modes already in?
Yeah, they were, because you had to do the hard modes for the relic.
Right.
So
right.
That's right. So these are this one they added extreme. Okay.
Yeah.
Completely new dungeon and 2 hard mode dungeons that are coming in for existing dungeons that we already have. Those 2 add-on or hard mode dungeons that are coming, playing through the beta, they had different paths through Totorak and different paths through some of the other dungeons that have been changed and closed off for the official version. So that to me says, that they've also said this too, is that the progression through the levels is going to be different. You're going to have different bosses. You're going to have different...
Totorak had more paths in the beta than it does now?
In 1.0 it did.
Yeah, it had a lot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but in 1.0 the dungeons also weren't instances. But he just said he played the beta for 2.0 and there were more paths, because Totorak still has 2 paths in it.
Yes.
He said there were more paths in Totorak in the beta that were then closed off for the official release.
That might be true, because they may have just used the 1.0 map, and the 1.0 map was a lot bigger.
They cut off a little bit, some portions of the 1.0 map, but it was exactly...
Because there was that whole northern section that they had just kind of whacked out of there. Yeah. I think that's accurate.
All right. And so those were the interesting points. I cut out a lot of the not so interesting portions of the podcast.
Oh, boy.
So right now we're at an hour and 28 minutes in, so we're going to listen to the ending of the show, okay? Okay.
Quality of life stuff they need to look into, and they are. It's just going to come with time, I guess. The last thing I wanted to touch on was in the Game Watch interview, they asked Yoshi P, so... are you playing Final Fantasy 14? What level are you at? And he said, I'm only level 18.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah. The interviewer's like, I'm level 30. I'm higher than you. And this is the best comment, and this speaks volumes to Yoshi P's character, is he said, I want to go hardcore, but right now, I can't. I don't think it's right for me to be playing. I don't think it's right for me to be playing when so many players out there are saying they can't.
What? Wait, what? Hang on. First of all, this is your fucking job, bro. Like, I feel like I can't be playing if so many people out there can't. What are you expecting people to clear their schedule, quit their jobs? Like, what is the expectation here?
I'm trying to think. Is it the time when he was trying to?
There's login issues, I think.
Like there was login issues, or they were trying to distribute it to more locations. Or something. I think they said it talks volumes to his character. I think he was saying that he needs to be working on the game, not playing the game.
I don't remember server issues at the launch of 2.0.
There was
2.0. There absolutely were. Are you kidding?
I don't remember.
I still have an alt that I made because I couldn't log onto an American server, so I have an alt on a Japanese.
I mean, I remember maybe 1 or 2 nights total where there were connection issues.
This is by 2.1. I'm not sure.
Yeah, by 2.1, I feel like they had gotten their server issues mostly corrected. Because, I mean, honestly, we would have held them to that. We would have...
It says from 2.0 to 2.1, you couldn't make a character.
What? I don't remember that at all. But then again, I had a legacy character and wasn't making any new characters, so I don't know about that. But anyway, my point is that I don't remember a ton of server issues between 2.0 and 2.1. Certainly after 2.1, I'm almost positive that they got most of those figured out. But I feel like Square Enix would have gotten dragged if they had released 2.0 and it would have had that many fucking server issues. After the debacle that 1.0 was. I feel like we would have held them on that. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, it is certainly a long time ago that this happened. So
a lifetime.
I mean, but Zero Uno's like offering up like, well, remember we couldn't do Raubon EX? Yeah, I mean, I do remember that kind of stuff, but I don't. I mean, it's like localized to something specific and fixed within a few days.
I feel like I remember this Game Watch interview, and I remember thinking, how is Yoshi P only level 18 and this interviewer only level 30? Because I feel like I was a higher level than them already, and I had started late.
You did start late because you weren't sold on coming back to an FF Online game yet. I think you were one of the last ones that picked it up, didn't you?
I'm pretty sure Kallo had to convince me to come back. Or wait, no,
you convinced Kallo because Kallo didn't want to do the first 3 episodes,
right?
And then he was just like, "I'll come with you."
Yeah,
because started showing up because of Youmacon,
right?
God, that's crazy that this show is wrapping up
right around
the time that we had started, because it was around Youmacon.
That's right.
We were nursing our hangovers from Youmacon to record the pilot.
Was it the pilot?
Oh.
Yeah. I was just looking at the description.
Youmacon is right now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was this weekend. I didn't go. Felt kind of bad.
Good job.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Youmacon.
Whatever.
Why did I start playing then? Who convinced me to play?
I think we had started talking about how the game was decent. I think you had asked me.
Had I?
Yeah, if I was going to play it. And I said, "Yeah, I actually am going to play it." And you were like, "Yeah, I think I am too."
Huh.
Because you tried the beta, didn't you? You were in the beta.
The beta? I don't think so.
I thought most of the LBR folks had beta access, and it decided.
I might have because I already had a legacy character.
Yeah,
I think that might have been what it was.
Yeah, and we were like, "Oh shit, this game is actually not a fucking dumpster fire." Yeah.
I just found a Game Watch interview from pre 2.1, and he was commenting on how there was so much. It was so popular they had to restrict logins and restrict access to sales of the game. And we apologize for inconvenience this has caused.
I don't remember that at all.
It says it caused inconvenience for those who wanted to play, and I deeply apologize for this situation.
Yeah, because there was like a horrible login queue, and so I would just stare in a cutscene at a retainer bell, and so I would never get logged out.
That's right. Now I remember that. I do remember that.
And that just made the whole problem worse because then it spread like
But they do that on every expansion launch now. They have an idle timer that kicks people off.
Yeah, but
like, I mean, he literally says we were able to launch a game after making everyone wait for this long. We received large amounts of popularity, which exceeded our expectation. And as a result, we placed login restrictions for 2 weeks. And we also had to stop the sale of the game, which caused inconvenience for those who wanted to play.
Right.
I don't remember them stopping sales.
So that must be what he was talking about when saying like so many want to play but can't. So I'm not playing right now.
Man, everyone was drinking that.
Was drinking the FF14 Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like that. The fact that he's so concerned about his player base, that to me just speaks volume about his character too.
Exactly. I was really pleased to hear that.
Good addition to the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Call back to last episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've hit just about an hour and a half mark with all the editing involved. So I think I'll close it out. We had a lot that we went over today.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
Yep. Yeah, he does.
This show is edited?
Oh, yeah. You can actually really tell because they'll be talking about something, and then there's like an abrupt stop, and then he says, "Okay, so now we're going to talk about something else now."
Oh, my God.
Oh, you think those are added in post?
There's definitely huge chunks that he cuts out.
So this conversation was longer and more inane.
Yes.
Great.
We covered everything we wanted. And thank all of you for coming and helping me talk about it. And thank all the listeners for listening. So, this is Zakarn signing off.
And Shardfire signing off.
Shardfire.
And Mina's saying, so long, suckers.
And this is goodbye from Stuzak.
See you guys later.
Toodles.
Bye.
Toodles.
You can find us on YouTube on our Mog News channel, and you can also locate us at our linkshell/free company site, FFXIV Risk Breakers, all one word, enjin.com.
I literally don't remember the show at all.
Oh, me either. Is that their whole outro?
Contact us and
No,
leave
there's
us
some
any
more.
questions or comments. We're definitely open to taking viewer feedback and any questions you may have. We would like to start answering them. So send us
What the fuck?
It's like sexy music.
All one word at gmail.com.
Am I gonna get a blowjob? What is happening right now?
And this concludes our broadcasting day, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf
Oh, it's
of
like a
the
noir
speakers,
thing.
I wish to thank you all for joining us this evening.
I'm fucking terrified right now.
Next time on Morg News.
I think it should have I think they should have chosen a different type of.
Yeah, they're not a
I
great.
see what they were going for,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it didn't.
No,
work
it
out.
just didn't work at all. Because it's a news program.
Yeah,
Close
their
it out
intro
like
was-
the news.
The intro was cute. The end of it doesn't tie in as well with
It's
the intro.
creepy. When did we go?
Yeah.
When did we go from being like delivering the news to like lounging around in a fucking robe and having a little bit of cognac?
Oh yeah.
Like when did that? Like unless you're doing a Ron Burgundy spoof throughout the whole thing, this doesn't make any sense. That was it, and that's the fade.
The end.
Fucking hell.
At least they didn't play 3 minutes of music with nothing attached.
That is fair.
I think this podcast did have a good start, and I feel like that's something we could say with them only having.
I'm actually fairly surprised for a podcast that didn't stick around and didn't have that many episodes. This was not as much of a trash fire as I thought it was going to be.
Okay, but you didn't even get to hear what the little graphic text says at the end. It says, "Thank you for listening. Have a lovely day."
Lovely day.
Capital L-A apostrophe lovely day. Lovely day.
Is that like a thing on their show, or?
I mean, can it be a thing on their show with 4 episodes?
I guess not really.
I hate this. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, so they have some audio issues. I think they had a lot of disparity between the different hosts' microphones too.
Yes.
Again,
That's something that
But I know
can
for
be
an early
fixed in
podcast, a lot of podcasts suffer from that.
Yeah, but that is something that you can fix in post.
Yes.
They had 4 episodes. Episode 1 and episode 4 were both an hour and 30 minutes. Episode 2 was 17 minutes, and episode 3 was 8 minutes.
I mean, listen, FF14 doesn't always give you an hour and a half's worth of material. We know that.
I mean, yeah, but we always give 2 to 3 hours.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why we're masters.
That's why I'm the best. Hashtag Jacked. Hashtag daddy issues. Hashtag I'm a blitzball.
Hashtag this is a Final Fantasy 14 podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again to who are
Mina and Zakarn.
Mina and Zakarn for submitting this episode for Juxtober.
I'd say that was the best out of this year's Juxtober entries.
I will say that. Yeah, that's as a podcast, not terrible. I would actually like if I listened to because I wouldn't have gotten through the whole thing. If I listened to about half of it, I would have gone back for another episode.
Really?
Probably. Just to see.
You want to know a dirty secret?
What's that?
I did not listen to the whole episode.
You didn't?
I could not sit through the whole thing.
No.
Well, I was like I said, I was worried that like the whole like static shit was gonna like blow up my car's speakers.
Yeah.
Because
that's a legitimate concern.
Those speakers are on their way out. Like every time I hit a bump, like a little buzzing noise like starts going on, then I hit another bump and it goes away.
So audio quality, and then being able to like make your conversations a little bit more like
conversations.
Actually more like conversation and a little bit more interesting to listen to, and that way you don't have to just
be funny.
And that way you don't have to just cut out random pieces of it to make it shorter. So I think that's the biggest pieces of criticism. It's hard. This one was not a dumpster fire.
No, it wasn't terrible. It was really average as far as podcasts go, you know, like
yeah, if you download some random average podcast, that's probably what you're going to get.
Yes. I would say that is like the middle ground for expectation that I have for podcasts, right? Like it's not an entire waste of time. Clearly the people making it are trying to make a show. They're not just sitting down and like like stream of consciousness in front of a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. I hate that.
They have an outline or something.
Yeah. That they have a discussion that they've planned out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can at least appreciate those things.
Can you appreciate the fact that he edited parts of the show out but did not edit his static buzzing?
No. Well, here's the thing is that once your microphone peaks, once you have that digital distortion, you can never get rid of that. There's no...
in post.
There's literally nothing you can do to get rid of that.
But on the next show, you can get rid of it.
Yeah, by turning down your microphone.
Do you want spoilers?
What?
It's like that on all the shows.
I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Did you listen to all of them?
Well, I mean, I went through them all to see if I could find one that didn't have that awful noise, and they all had the awful noise. So
Yeah.
I just chose the latest one.
Fair enough. So not a bad submission, but our only FF14 submission this go around. I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping for...
How many FF14s did we have last year?
Just one.
Just one.
Just one.
Mm.
I was hoping for, because we had She Heals, I Tank last year.
Yeah.
I was hoping for something a little bit more visible.
Yeah, She Heals, I Tank. They're good people.
Yeah, no, they're fine. And
my name is on their wall.
It is?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's the wall of subscribers.
Oh.
I subscribed for 1 month and they put my name on that wall and then I unsubscribed instantly. Suckers.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for today's episode of Limit Break Radio. Thanks for joining us.
There's only one more.
I know.
There's one more.
One more in studio.
One more traditional episode.
And with the fucking daylight savings time, dude, it feels like it's 9 o'clock.
I know.
Ugh.
7:30.
I hate it.
It's 6:30.
It's 6:30.
I know. It feels like 7:30.
No, it does.
It feels like 9:30.
Outside, it looks like it's 9 a goddamn clock.
I've been dreading this.
I fucking hate daylight
I can't tell what time it is because I stayed up until 10 and then slept for 4 hours. So
that's probably fair. But dude, I fucking hate daylight savings time. It's the worst.
Nobody likes it.
It's the worst.
Why do we still have it?
I don't know.
We should go
I'm not
forward.
really sure.
We should go forward an hour to try to reclaim some of that daylight.
Right? Now it just gets dark really early.
It's the opposite of savings. It's costing. Daylight costings time.
Well, because now this is the normal time. Like, it's going back now to what it's supposed to be. Daylight savings time is over.
By the way, before we get out of here, I want to read an email that
really?
Zero Uno had sent to us today. Since next week is going to be our last in-studio episode for LBR, make sure you get in any emails that you want to get. Hosts at limitbreakradio.com is where you can send them, or limitbreakradio@gmail.com. That's also...
Send us off with style.
That's right.
You know, we still have one fanfic.
Really?
We do. We're gonna have to read that in the next episode.
I think we are, yeah. Okay. All right. So Zero Uno of Mateus writes in and says, "Hello, I'm Zero Uno. I don't know if you guys see me in chat before or Twitter, but I won't be able to call in and say my goodbye, so here I'm writing it instead. It was you guys that made me push to try FF14 since I kept seeing it at GameStop and checking out videos. One day I decided to see if there was any good FF14 podcasts, and you guys were the first to pop up. 5 episodes in, and I went to the mall with my pals the next day to buy it. Ever since, I was a fan of you guys. Just brutal honesty got me in, and I can feel the love for the game with every salt and bad Juxta joke. I will miss you all dearly, but I will continue to support Checkpoint and whatever Nika and Juxta bring. You guys are a legacy and going out even more legendary. Goodbye, LBR, and good luck with your future." Thank you, Zero Uno. We appreciate it.
It's gonna make me cry.
I know.
But that's weird. Zero
I'm too tired for emotions.
Zero said that bad Juxta jokes. There are no bad Juxta.
They're all bad.
No, none of them are bad.
No, all of them.
Spoilers, Juxta, every joke has been bad all these years. We just haven't had the heart. No, we have actually.
No, we have had the heart to tell him. We've been begging him, in fact, to get better jokes.
You geeks are so gullible.
It's a good thing you have a drop board.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to be it for Limit Break Radio. Thanks so much for joining us for episode 181 here at twitch.tv/checkpointxp. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that follow button. Come back. We've got Monday through Friday content. We have Checkpoint Daily every single Monday through Friday. Plus, we've got podcasts that we're doing. We're actually making new podcasts for Checkpoint. So make sure you check that out. That's all right here at twitch.tv/checkpointxp and over at our website at checkpointradio.com. This is the second to last episode in our studio. We've got one more studio episode to go before we take the show on the road out to Vegas and wrap the whole thing up in style. Yes, that's right. Fill it with gasoline and dynamite and drive.
Cool guys don't look at explosions.
That's right. We're going to drive this bitch off of a cliff and never look back.
Thelma and Louise, bitch.
But thank you guys for joining us today. Join us next week for more Limit Break Radio. I want to thank my crew for today. Nika Kyanian, fresh off of her 24 hours at Extra Life, and Juxtaposition, fresh off of his nothing that he does all day. I'm an hero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Kallo Landis, Juxtaposition, and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Nexian Theta, Hirsch Firsch, Telen Vieira, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at Facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at Facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.